Welcome to Word Count and Wingspan, where we talk about books we're reading and the writing process, as well as our own current works. And today we'll be discussing Audrey Winter and that whole situation there. And I'm sure you can find it anywhere. My friend Andrea is going to give you a rundown of the whole situation. If you want to know more in depth, there are plenty of wonderful podcasts about all of that by incredible influencers. I'll link them all below. So here's Andrea with a little bit about Audrey Winter for you.
So for anyone who is not familiar with that, Audra Winter is a self-published author who released a book called The Age of Scorpius in June, I believe. And she had been advertising this book for, I think, several years before it finally came out. She got a lot of attention for her marketing campaign and sold a whole bunch of pre-orders of this book. I want to say she made like $7,000 from pre-orders or something like that. And when the book came out and people started reading it, she started to get a lot of flack because the book reads like a first draft. There's a lot of grammar errors, structural errors, plot errors, all the things. So sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts. All right. So she's placed a lot of emphasis on the world building of this story. And there's been a lot of talk about her team. She's hired like 20 some people. She's got artists and musicians and that seems to be the main focus of the project. So there's been a lot of backlash because people are saying that she did not give a finished product, that she didn't put enough emphasis on the writing. She says she's been working on this book for the last 10 years of her life. Mind you, she's 22. So when she started working on this book, she was 12. And so it reads very juvenile at the same time. And it's kind of created a lot of discourse in the writing community because a lot of people are talking about it as far as what it means for self-published authors, what it means for readers of self-published books and all that kind of stuff. And I have not personally read the book. I actually tried to find it, to read it, to find out what all of the fuss was about because I like to see things for myself. And by the time that I came across all of this controversy and caught wind of it, the book had already been pulled and you can't get it anywhere right now because she is working on revising this book and putting out a new version heavy on the new artwork and sprayed edges and a lot of special features. Though from what I understand, she's also now hired an editor who is working on helping her rewrite this. Though supposedly she had worked with some pretty high profile editors before this. Supposedly one of them worked on the Hunger Games and I'm not sure who the other one was. The names have now been dropped from what I understand, but I haven't seen them anywhere. So that's where she's at with the whole thing.
I actually think she had, depending on when you started following her to recent posts, she's had 6,000 to 7,000 pre-sales, which equals about 100,000 in sales.
Oh, she's 6,000 to 7,000 books she sold.
Yes.
Wow.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
That's why she was bragging about becoming a six-figure entrepreneur at such a young age.
She did say that about the six-figure. How could I forget that?
Yeah.
Like her whole
spiel is six-figure entrepreneur at such a young age.
Yeah, she refers to herself as an entrepreneur and not an author, which is like very questionable.
Weird. Yeah. The whole thing is questionable because 12 different artists, musicians, specific landscape artists, even project manager. Why do you need a team? Like, I'm constantly referring to a team. What author, what indie author needs a team? I mean, you need your editors. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some beta readers and
maybe one illustrator.
And art readers to bounce ideas off of and stuff like that, but not a team of illustrators and musicians. And
and
I can get because I was thinking maybe she has that, what is it, aphasia, where you can't visualize, where I struggled for a while. And
I can't remember. I think you're right.
Aphasia can't speak, but it's something like that.
Yeah.
But where I can't really see the images as I'm reading it. It's getting better the more I read and the more I find fan art and I can associate. It kind of helps my brain then because I used to be able to do this when I was a kid. So it's like, I'll tell you too how much mental health trauma and stuff like that can really mess with your mind.
Hmm.
Because things that I know came so easy as a kid, I'm not so good now. And that's
Yeah.
one thing, and it requires your mind so much. But yeah, so I think I can understand. Maybe she has that where she needs to see her characters before she can write her characters, and she really needs to see this world. But again, you're doing it wrong. Like it's
Yeah, because I want to say that I saw a video or I read comments or something that said something about her. She had an artist that she was meeting with weekly, and the artist is drawing up all of the art for the chapter that she's revising in that week. Because I think she's trying to revise one chapter a week or something like that. And
she's
the
only done one
artist, it
chapter and
sounds
keeps having excuses for the other chapters. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds like the artist is drawing the stuff out and then she's kind of writing her descriptions based off of the art, which is a little weird to me because supposedly she spent like 10 years in this world. I think she said she's dedicated like 3 hours or more a day, every single day for the last 10 years without fail in this world. And if you've spent that much time in this world, you should just be able to like
oh yeah,
rattle that off. You shouldn't need pictures at that point. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
That should be so clear in your head that like that shouldn't be necessary. Also, that's got to be expensive. Not that like her financial stuff is none of my business, but
But then again, that's why
that's got to be super,
she's an
super
entrepreneur,
expensive.
because she
Yeah,
hired all of
yeah,
them with her money that she made with these pre-sales, and now she needs to seek these investors to give her 60K a month, because that's how much she was able to pay these guys and then promise them something she couldn't keep up with.
yeah. Yeah, that investor thing is wild. That's like the latest update in the whole thing is now there's this post about looking for investors for this project and she's finagled the language to sound very convincing like
She's got this team.
yeah,
So how
garnered
much
this.
is it her telling them what she wants and then them refining it to make it sound professional?
That's true. That's true. And all the attention that she's garnered that she's kind of alluded to in this post, which she has. And that's kind of something that I think is a little irksome about this whole thing because she's getting famous off of this and it doesn't really feel deserved.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, that's what
It's
they
all
say.
publicity. I'll get you out there.
Yep. And so maybe one day she's going to become a best-selling author and who knows if it's going to be based on what it should be based on.
But at this point, I'm thinking that's not going to happen because, like I said before to you, that she probably wouldn't listen to any publishers.
Yeah, that's true. That's
From
true.
everything that I've seen, all the videos, book lover Laura and everything she's researched, she just does not want to take any criticism, any constructive criticism.
Yeah,
It's
that seems to
all,
be
you're all being mean to me when you give her constructive criticism. You're being mean to me.
yeah, that seems to be the general consensus because I've seen that comments have been deleted. Now their Patreon has a
There's a
thing now
rule.
that if you are caught giving any unsolicited criticism or what I forget what the other word was they used, but if you're caught giving it advice. If you're caught giving any unsolicited advice or critiques, you are going to get a warning. And I guess after so many times, like you're just banned. So, and they started these new tiers on their Patreon. One is a $2 tier where you get some like exclusive behind the scenes stuff of the editing process, and then a $5 tier where you get more behind the scenes stuff from the editing process. So I know that's a whole thing too. But
But it's, again, like with the investors, they got to maintain that money that she's promised them that now she can't maintain because nobody is ordering the pre-sales of the updated book. There's like what, 50
mhm,
sales on that,
yeah, something like that.
and it's like crushing the trust out there for debuted authors.
Yeah. I think what it was Laura that said that people aren't going to trust debut novels anymore because of this, because, you had an author that nobody knew anything about, but she was so enthusiastic about her product and her marketing was so good that people took this chance on her and bought this product and it ended up not being good at all. And I've seen a lot of comments like that just in general where people are like, well, this is why I will never buy from an indie author because self-published equals bad writing. And, this is why you don't trust indie authors. And this is why you can't have people who aren't traditionally published putting out novels out there. People shouldn't be able to self-publish for this very reason. And that
What
doesn't
reason?
really seem fair.
No, more reason that indie authors have to work even harder to prove their book's worth. Like, yeah, you really have to use her as an example and don't do as Audrey did. It worked
Yeah.
for her, but at the same time, it didn't. Nobody got to
Yeah.
see any snippets from the book. Like, she didn't read a chapter or read a page or give a quote from the main character or anything like that to draw you in. You had no idea really what the story was, just that she's been working on this world for 10 years and it's her blood and her life and everything. And so to now you have to
And
be
I don't think that there was ever a sample or anything available either, from what I understand.
no.
Like they said when the ebook was posted that you couldn't get a sample. Like most Kindle books, you can
Yeah.
get a sample for what is it usually, like the first like so many pages or the first so
Yeah.
much percentage or whatever, and
Or
you
even the
couldn't get
first
that.
chapter, because you really don't get
Yeah,
much out of the first chapter.
and that wasn't available. Also, no indication that she had ever like read anything else. There's never been any
Yeah.
discussion of like, oh, I'm inspired by this author or this author or this author. I read this book and this is what, gave me the idea for this book. Like she's never once talked about reading at all. And I think she even said she doesn't like to read her own work. So I'm not sure that she's even read her own book.
Which is another reason why it's so bad then.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go back and reread your own work, because I don't know how many times I'm like, I'm so glad I'd never put out the first published or the first draft because, oh my gosh, like it's
It's
even the
rough.
third and the fourth. I'm like, oh my God, I'm glad I did that last edit because reading this, why did I write that? That's horrible.
Yeah.
But the first draft is supposed to just be your free flow. You don't want to stop writing. Just let it all out. Then your second draft, you go back and refine it and then keep
Fill
working
in the
on it.
holes.
Yep. Add up that fluff that needs to be in there.
Yeah. And the number one rule that I've been told through this whole thing, as an editor, that I've learned going through and editing other people's work and then editing my own work and talking with other indie authors and things like that, is the number one rule is before you publish, read your work out loud.
Yes. And
Because
she
you will
definitely didn't if she doesn't
find,
read it.
yeah, you will find all of the stilted dialogue and the things that don't flow and all that kind of stuff. And it's very clear that she didn't, because when I hear other people read her work out loud, they're stuttering and stumbling over the words and things don't flow. And it seems like it's very difficult to read out loud,
Yeah.
just from what I've
Very
heard from
painful.
other, yeah. Like I don't,
Imagine having to read the audiobook for that.
yeah, oh wow, yeah. Which I think it is one of the things that's in the works. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know. But it's causing a lot of anxiety, I think, for indie authors too, because I've seen a lot of conversations around this. What if this happens to me? What if I've spent all this time on my book and all this work, did all this work, and I think that I'm good, and then I find out that I'm not.
That's why we
And this same
definitely
stuff happens to me.
need beta readers. You need beta
Yeah.
readers that aren't family and friends. Like it's okay to have some people that are close that like to read the genre, or maybe even don't read the genre to see if you can get somebody else interested. But
Hmm.
definitely some outside sources that love the genre you're writing in and aren't afraid to tell you, hey, this doesn't flow. Hey, I don't see where this or that. And
Yeah.
then even having ARC readers after that before you put them out. I definitely think that's a good idea. As much as
Yeah.
we all want to get our work out there right away, as soon as we're finished, it definitely needs those rounds.
Well, absolutely. And not being afraid to take the criticism and the feedback and use it to
Yes.
make your work better, and try to understand that while it sucks to hear those things and it hurts to hear those things sometimes, it's going to be better if you hear it from a few people than if like you have a situation like this where all of a sudden you've got like a 1 point something rating on Goodreads and everybody's trashing your work, and
Yeah.
then you're, depressed
The
about it
laughing
and it's
stock
affecting your
of book
mental health.
talk.
And yeah, and everybody's talking about you. And you had the opportunity to make it better and to improve on it before it ever even got to this phase. And so I think that taking the time to take those steps, and then not being so committed to a publish date that you're like, I don't care if it's not ready. I want it to be a release on this date. So
Yeah.
I'm just going to release it. And then you have to then deal with that fallout. Yeah. And then is anybody ever going to trust anything that you put out again? So that first one is really where you kind of establish that trust, and
can really make or break you.
yeah, and nobody expects a debut novel to be perfect. Like, let's face it, you can even like some of the best authors, because I use Cassandra Clare a lot as an example for this, because I can tell reading The Mortal Instruments and then reading some of her other series like The Infernal Devices and Dark Artifices. Don't get me wrong, I love The Mortal Instruments. It's one of my favorite series ever. To you can see her evolution as an author from one series to the next. You can tell where she started as opposed to where she is now as far as her writing. And that's kind of how it's supposed to be, right? Like you could probably do that with just about any author, and you can see kind of how they started. You can tell what was the beginning for them and what is now compared to that, because it always gets better as they go. But those first books are still quality books. The writing is still good. They're still solid. So that's kind of the difference there. And from what I understand, the errors and things that were in her Audra's books were like glaringly obvious errors, like run-on sentences and misspellings and
Repeating words.
Incorrect words, and lots of repetition, and don't get me wrong, we as authors, we all have those phrases and things that we repeat regularly. The tells, even, Sarah J. Maas has her signature phrases and things like that, and that's
like
normal.
Draws to like and
watery vowels.
Yeah. Actual watery vowels.
But yeah, so from what I understand, though, this was like just the same phrases being repeated and repeated and repeated. And one of the videos I saw that was reading the first chapter, whole sentences that were like, it was almost like she had written it here, but then felt like it belonged better over here. And so added it here, but forgot to delete it elsewhere, or vice versa. Like that's almost what it felt like. And so just very first draft, like it just very much read that way, like it was just not edited. And that's inexcusable.
Reads with Rachel goes through the whole entire book and reads it on one of her videos. And yet it is just horrible. She's constantly stumbling over the words, and she's like, even Google is highlighting like whole sentences and saying like, Google's even telling me this isn't right. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to read it, but Google's even telling me this shouldn't be read this way. Like,
and I think part of the problem too was the fact that she spent so much time in that world, because if she really did write for 3 hours a day, every day for 10 years, there's such a thing as too much.
Yeah.
And when you're that close to something and you spend that much time in that world, first of all, one of the things that I heard that a lot of people had a problem with was the fact that her descriptions weren't rich enough. You got no sense of like who the characters were or what the world looked like. And they said it was almost as if like she had spent so much time in this world, so she knew what it looked like. So she didn't feel the need to describe it, because she already knew what it looked like. And she forgot that she had people that she was telling this story to who had no idea what any of this stuff was. And so she had to then turn around and describe it, and she didn't. And sometimes you have to step away and like separate yourself. And this is again where reading would have probably helped if she read. I guess we don't know if she read or not, but it seems like she didn't. And I know for myself, I've been working on my book for 7 years, and after the third or fourth round of rewrites, I was like, something still isn't quite right here. And I walked away from it for a whole year just to read, to start reading more in genre and see if I could pinpoint what it was that didn't feel right. Because even though I've always been a reader, there was a time there where I wasn't reading quite to the level that I'm reading now. And so I didn't know what I needed. And then after taking that time to read and step away completely, like just completely separate myself from it, I was able to go back and make it the best version that it's been yet. And so I just feel like there's a lot of benefit from taking the time to separate yourself sometimes, because you're too close to it and you're too invested, and then you don't want to kill your darlings, and you don't want to make the changes, and you don't want to do the things that are necessary to make it better. And sometimes coming back to that with fresh eyes and a fresh perspective can help you.
I mean, I still don't want to kill my darlings, but sometimes you have to make the story better.
Oh yeah. That's the hardest part, because there have been scenes and and things that I've been attached to, and then I've gone back and read it later, and I'm like, this does absolutely nothing for the story. It adds nothing. Yeah, it's a fun scene. Yeah, it's, fun for the
Whatever.
characters or whatever, but it's doing absolutely nothing for my story. So I'm moving the story forward as zero benefit, like it's not accomplishing anything, and then like just to completely cut it out. And it is hard and it hurts.
That's where you can
But
also save it and have it as like a bonus chapter for people
yeah.
too, and release them later as special editions and newsletters
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Or maybe if it's like dialogue, it doesn't necessarily have to be character specific. It could fit somewhere else in a different story with
Yeah.
different characters where it does add. Like, but no,
Does go
that's
with the
probably
story.
the hardest part of writing is doing that and being willing to slash away.
Yeah. I did that. I actually cut a couple chapters, which is funny because I cut a couple chapters from Wyvern King and ended up still being at the same number of pages
I
because
did
I
the
ended
same
up
thing.
doubling the page count for a couple chapters.
Yeah. Well, for Balefire, I did the same thing. I'd cut some scenes, but then by the time I was done, I'd added some extra like chapters from another character's point of view and added some other things and then made some scenes longer, more fleshed out. So it still ended up being longer than it was when I started. Like I think I've added like 20 some thousand words. So yeah.
Nice.
So is there anything that like you think you plan on doing as far as like releasing your new book based on this situation?
Everything that happened.
Yeah.
I definitely want to start putting out. So, even based on my own experience with my debut, I didn't do a lot of things that I do want to do now this time around, and definitely not her approach, but more of doing more like promoting the book talk to Bookstagram, and of course, now BookTube, gonna put my book out there as much as possible, talk about it as much as possible. Now mentioning it, Wyvern King, try and you know, get a little bit better eventually at reading. I stumble over my own words, stumble reading well published words. So I don't want to end up stumbling over my own words and trying to push my book. But yes, I'd like to try and read a chapter or post more like pictures and videos and stuff with inspirations for my main characters. So yeah, definitely get, inspirations for my characters and my worlds and just try and keep putting out more and more stuff just so people can
Mhm.
see and get the pre-sales up, which again, I understand now that that might not happen, but I will also have the first chapter available for,
Mhm.
preview. I'm trying to set up a newsletter, which is just so exhausting because I barely have time, working a full-time job,
Mhm.
writing and editing after I come home from work. I sit down and I edit or write and then still try and find time to make videos and post pictures or anything to get my work out there on all the socials. And then on top of that, now to make newsletters and give you monthly updates and
Yeah.
come on. I can understand the
Advertising.
frustration. Yes, it's like indie
It's
authors really have it rough, and like people like Audrey are making it rougher for us as it is. 'Cause it's like we already have a lot to do, and a lot of the indie authors have other jobs that they're doing on
yeah.
top of this, and kids and spouses and everything else. It's like,
Yeah. Promotion is like the scariest part for me. I'm really nervous about the promotion part of it because I've never been a good promoter, I've never been a good salesperson. Anytime that I've ever held like retail jobs and stuff, like when I
yeah,
was younger, when they're like, "Oh, you have to walk around the store and like hand these flyers out to people and try to get them to buy this particular product." I remember I worked at a bookstore and that was one day my assignment, whereas I had to follow customers around the store and try to get them to take this flyer and talk to them about this particular product. And I was like, you want me to do what now? Like I've never all the direct sales. I've never been one person that could do that kind of stuff. I hate to push stuff on people. Like even
yeah,
when I was having like parties for like, Mary Kay or Color Street or Pampered Chef,
those
it's like
MLMs.
you want me to get people to come to my party?
Well,
No, I don't want to.
I think the only reason I did good at sales at one time was when I was working at Radio Shack and it was selling Verizon phones when phones
Yeah.
were just starting to come out and be a big thing. And it was still the big Motorola's with the snake on it, like, where you had to hit the keys 3 times to get the letter you wanted,
Yeah.
and,
But
I was
they
the
were
only
easy to
female in Radio
sell.
Shack.
Yeah, they were easy to sell back then because they were new and it was like a
Yeah.
hot thing.
Pretty much everybody that came into the store for a cell phone wanted to buy a cell phone. They weren't just browsing,
Yeah.
like, they knew what they wanted, and they were coming in like, "Hey, I need this cell phone."
Yeah. So, yeah, it's scary when you're doing
Yeah.
something that like how many other people are doing the same thing and how do you make yours stand out against all of the others? So, yeah, that's a big thing, but I think definitely I want to do the same thing as you and make sure that like I have a sample out there that somebody can read. I'll probably post my first chapter and maybe do some readings and like share some quotes like even later on in the book maybe that are like enticing and draw people in. And I have no idea how to do character art or any of that stuff. I'm so not artistic, like not even a little bit. So I haven't the first clue how to go about doing any of that, but I need to try to figure that out. And, I did see email lists. Email lists are like a big thing that they said for self-publishing authors, a big way to advertise.
Yeah.
And there's some authors that I'm on their email list and I get their emails and I'm like, oh goodness, I could not imagine the time that goes
Yeah.
into making these things happen. And I try to take the time to read them because I know the amount of time and the effort that it goes into it.
But at least you know with the bigger authors, they have assistants to do that.
Yeah.
It's the indie authors that are struggling to do it all because we don't have the
Yeah.
assistants who can do this other stuff for us or find the
Yeah.
artists. And
Yeah. So it's a big undertaking and especially now with this whole situation like I feel like advertising is even more important though her advertising game was on point. That was never the issue and that's part of the problem now because she advertised so well that people were sucked in and
I
a
don't
lot of it
understand
was
how people were. That's what gets me. It's like you were pre-sale, you're purchasing a pre-sale with very little knowledge of the book. Like, why? I just want to interview
they
all the people that have bought a book and please tell me what was it that she did that hooked you? Like, what
so
video was the one that sold you?
a lot of what I saw in the comments and things on other videos that I've watched was a lot of people said that they were taken in by her enthusiasm. That she was so passionate about her world
Okay,
and about her project that they wanted to read it because she was so enthusiastic about it and so passionate.
I'll get that.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that too. You're like, oh my gosh, this person really cares about what they do, you
Definitely
know?
don't lose that part about what she did then. So
Yeah.
that tactic was right. Be very enthusiastic about your world and your
Yeah.
characters and everything about it. Like, I mean, I made up a map of my world and I have a big poster of it in my room, in my computer
Yeah.
room. So I can there visually. And I personally made this map. It is no AI, no nothing. I've shown you the updated versions of it
Yeah.
and all that. A software that I purchased and created this map by myself. So it's my own artwork too on my wall.
Yeah.
Like, look, it's my world. I made that.
Yeah. That's really cool.
I'm the god of you. I control you.
Mine takes place in the real world, so I don't really need a map, but I could
But
like
that
there are
was
other
also,
things. Yeah.
and I've done, Hidden World is kind of real world ish. It was very, very much based on a real world place that I ended up turning into fantasy then. Because
Yeah.
the original story was based in our hometown. Yeah, that first one, the very, very, very
Yeah.
first one that it originated from was based in our hometown.
Yeah, I forgot
And
about
then
that.
I think the book 2 of that one was supposed to be in Wildwood, New Jersey then.
Oh, wow. Of all places.
Yeah, right?
That's
Because
interesting.
I wrote it when I was 18 and I was still obsessed with going to Wildwood back then and how amazing
Yeah.
Wildwood was. God was.
Mm.
I like their boardwalk. I'll give them that. Like Wildwood has an
Oh, I
amazing boardwalk.
yeah, they do have an amazing boardwalk. It's a fun place. Don't get me wrong. I do
Yeah.
like it. It just
Oh, absolutely. I love it for their boardwalk alone, but not the beach and the ocean. Not when now I live in North Carolina and I have the beach and ocean down here and
yeah.
I've seen what it really looks like.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
brown
yeah.
and
It's when we went to Atlantic City, the ocean, I mean, it was beautiful. Don't get me wrong. The ocean was beautiful, but even compared to Ocean City, Maryland, it was very different. The beach is very different. And
it gets clearer and clearer the further south you
yeah,
go.
yeah. And then also seeing the beaches in North Carolina and then comparing it to that, it's not the same. But I used to love the New Jersey beach, and now I'm just like, something is missing here.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely won't even put my toes in that water, but I'll look at it from the beach while I'm reading my book and enjoy the boardwalk.
Well, that's my favorite part about the beach anyway, is sitting on the beach and reading. So
Yeah.
who needs to put your toes in the water? There are critters
It's
in there.
always cold there anyway, too. Even in the summertime, it's always cold in Jersey.
Well, weirdly, one day it was super, super warm, the water, but then the next day it was cold. And I was surprised because the water was freezing when we were in Ocean City last time. And
I'm pretty sure
I
there
thought it
is
was
some
going to
kind
be
of
even
scientific
colder.
reason for that, but I forget what it is.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
That wasn't my strong point. My strong point was art class and anywhere I could zone out.
Yeah, just English for me, journalism and composition class.
I liked, I liked journalism too, especially because the formatting and stuff, but I didn't like being told what I could and couldn't write. And
yeah,
especially with English class, but I will always remember that what Mrs. Hoff taught us, or at least our class, or I don't remember if it was drilled into your head, but when you're writing news, it is always facts and never your personal opinion. And all of these news stations have clearly forgotten that detail. And that's one thing that has stuck with me for 20 years, that you always write the facts. You never insert your personal opinion. I don't know how many times I had my news stories handed back to me from her. Take your personal opinion out of it. That's personal opinion. I'm like, no, it's not. I swear, no, that's personal opinion. Take it out. Always a good spot.
So thank you for joining us for our first episode. I'm sure we're kind of a little all over the place, getting the hang of this. We would love to hear feedback, any questions or anything else, anything you want us to talk about in any of our upcoming episodes. Please leave that in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please make sure you give us a like and definitely subscribe so you can catch up on everything else we talk about, from, like I said, our writing process as two indie authors ourselves, and all the books that we've been reading. We're going to have an episode about the Powerless series. We're going to start reading Red Queen, so we'll have an episode about that. Quicksilver, just some of the books that I have coming up. So yes, please subscribe so you don't miss out on all of that. Look forward to seeing you next week.